Hello everybody, I'm Ramsis.
And I'm the Vespor.
We're here for another edition of Vespors Retro Reviews.
In this special episode, we're here with DisneyRetroLover, a fan of the channel, and he's volunteered to show us some of the most amazing Disney comic book history you can find, and specifically dealing with one of the most interesting characters you've probably never even heard of, the Phantom Blot.
Right, so let's hear him talk all about this mysterious character. This is going to be very interesting, guys. Anyone who's a fan of retro comic books is going to get a blast out of this. So here's one of our subscribers. He's going to tell you a great story about the Phantom Blot.
Phantom Blot was originally a villain in the Mickey Mouse comics going back to 1939 when it was a newspaper strip rather than a comic book. And there was one story, very popular, very memorable, and then he went dormant for many years until about 1964 when they revived him in one of the Mickey Mouse comics and then set him off on his own series, which would be, by my reckoning, the first comic book series to ever have a villain as the title character. Before the Joker, before Catwoman, before Doctor Doom, there was the Phantom Blot. The Phantom Blot series only ran 7 issues from 1964 to 1966, released on a quarterly basis. It was 7 issues of full 32-page length stories, which was very uncommon at that time.
Yeah, 7 does seem like a weird number to do a whole series. Yeah.
It was among my very favorites. We have there the first 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Does it tie into each one of these characters? Every book has a different character that the Phantom Blot is interacting with?
More or less.
Because you have the Big Old Boys from Uncle Scrooge series, and then you have Super Goof as a totally different character. So he just showed up in all different types of situations.
The artist on this was Paul Murray, who drew Mickey Mouse comics from 1950 until 1984, and he was probably the most prolific of any American artist who drew Mickey Mouse and the set of characters he appeared with.
Well, you can see it's the old distinctive style here, which adds so much to these comics. Simple, fun, although there's definitely a lot of dialogue here. But they relied a lot more on the older comic books with the dialogue instead of trying to show so many pictures.
And it was really a story being told. This is not an action pack. This is really a story unfolding as you see each panel here.
Exactly. Paul Murray also did all the lettering for this.
Oh, very nice. Nice blocky lettering.
Pencil, ink, and lettering. He did not write. The writers were Del Cannell, Bob Ogle, and the last one was written by Vic Lockman. Bob Ogle did most of them, and he did the best ones.
Nice. What made them so good? The story?
The story, yes. Having 32 pages to just, spread a story out in is something that was not the usual.
Well, that is true, too. Well, I also have to admit, for a comic book, it's very ballsy to make your villain just a black blot. I have to say that.
Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah, it's just a guy, all shadowy. That's it. That's the whole character.
Well, in later years, particularly in the stories that are produced in Italy, none of them are produced here anymore. He now goes without the mask.
Oh, really?
We'll get to that. I'll show you.
Okay, we'll see where he progresses
later.
So this is where it all started, folks. So this is what year would you say this is?
1964.
1964 right now, and stay tuned because I think we're going to get closer to the present here as we move along. Yes.
Comic books were part of life back then. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have all these books. This is, if you wanted to see cartoon characters in real life, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, comics are the only way to get some of this stuff.
I don't know, though. In all honesty, I'm not sure if I'd want to see the Phantom Blot's face, because it ruins the specialty of it, you know?
Well, I agree with that, but I'm not the powers that be.
Yeah. I say, all right, so here's the next 4 issues, but I thought he said 7. Oh, wait, here's an 8th issue IDW. That's a current comic. What's going on here? This doesn't look right. All right, I think we're going to be in for a little mystery here of what's going on with this series.
Yes, we've got another mystery on our hands, gang. The original run of the Phantom Blot ended with number 7 in the summer of 1966. Now, there was no information on how comics were published and distributed in those days. So I spent the longest time looking for number 8, which never happened. In fact, I wasn't certain that there was no number 8 until getting my first Overstreet price guide in 1981.
So
well.
20 years later.
Yeah.
Well, out of curiosity, during those searching, did you figure out why they stopped at number 7?
Not really. I guess they just did it based on sales. My guess is that a villain starring in a title might have been an idea that was a little before its time.
So what happened? Eventually, I guess they decided they were going to continue on with this?
Well, what happened was that the character became very popular in the Italian stories. They're no longer produced in America. They're mostly produced in Italy. The character was very popular there, even though he might not have been here. So after Gold Key, we had, from the same Western publishing, we had Whitman Comics, and then we had a number of different publishers that did Disney. There was Gladstone Series 1, there was Disney Comics, there was Gladstone Series 2, there was Gemstone, there was Boom Studios, IDW, and presently Fantagraphics, which I think does the best job of packaging these anyone ever has.
The art, in all honesty, is very similar.
Yep, they're trying to capture that same style. You can see it looks very similar to that 60s style. And this is, what year did this issue come out?
2018.
Wow, so very modern here. They continued the series many years later, finally making that issue 8.
Now the thing is, it's not actually issue 8.
Okay, so it's actually 6 of their series,
Right.
but 8 to
Right.
continue it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
That's where I put it in my filing, because for all intents and purposes, that's what it is to me.
And is that actually the
What he looks like
Yes,
under it?
that is him without his mask.
All right, so guys, there you go.
Yeah.
There's the Phantom Blot, and yeah, he needs to keep the mask on because
It's kind of like, what's his name? William Dafoe, who wore the...
he's scarier without it on.
Yes.
Now, I read this, the last issue, in summer of 1966. As I say, I looked for the longest time for number 8, never happened. So a lot of the Phantom Blot issues, in fact all of them from the original Gold Key run, had one-page gags on the inside covers. Here he's breaking into Scrooge's vault, waterfall painting, and what's behind it but a real waterfall.
Uh-huh.
Well, you don't rob from Scrooge McDuck. I know that much.
And, here's another one where he's unsuccessful at making a getaway. Thinks he's gonna hop a plane, but...
Fake stairs.
Fake stairway.
Well, I mean, this is the beautiful part about all this. This is just good, solid humor from that time period.
2021 is a hardcover collection of those 7 issues of the Phantom.
So they actually put that all in a book. That's cool.
Right. Here's
Similar
cover
covers.
reproduction.
Oh, wow, that is actually really cool. So, the story we're taking away is if you're interested in a comic and they actually bring the characters back, you may be able to get a chance to help change your fate of your favorite characters.
Exactly so. All of these, again, by Paul Murray.
So Untitled Pages now got titles due to the reproduction. That's very cool.
So the actual artist who drew that didn't do the one blot, so there was actually somebody else that was different?
Well, he died at the end of the 80s, Paul Murray.
Oh, okay.
So,
You never got to see what happened.
He
next.
never got to see that. No, he never got to see that he had books made in his honor.
Well, super.
Anything like that. The story, as far as I'm concerned, is if you wait long enough, hang around long enough, live long enough, anything is possible, including me getting to actually work with and on my favorite childhood comic
Yeah,
series.
that's probably a dream come true, which is great.
I don't know. I think if I worked on my favorite childhood comics, which was Transformers, I'd probably have to shoot myself because I'd be like, "You've ruined everything!"
Yes. Watch our Transformer reviews to get the references.
About the only thing I can say they didn't do right is keep his mask on.
Well, I mean, there's a whole big discussion. You don't want to see the bad guy's face. That's just like, I don't know, it's just like a cardinal sin.
Well, sometimes it worked when you took Darth Vader's mask off. It was cool.
Yeah, but he died.
Right.
This character's still ongoing, correct?
Yes.
You like the Night Stalker?
Oh, yes.
One of my favorite series of all times. I loved it. They did a remake on that, but it was nowhere near as good.
It wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't.
No. And you're talking about, as far as TV series go, top 5 of all time.
But yeah, that was a very fun series. And it also proves that sometimes remaking things don't necessarily work out the way you want to. They don't show respect to the original character. So with these new comics that you've had looking at with the Phantom Blot, are they showing respect to the Phantom Blot?
Yes. But Paul Murray and Bob Ogle and those guys, they showed it back then. It's just that I don't think the readership was there for it at the time. Too early, too late, wrong time for this and for the Night Stalker show, because in 1974-75, we were moving into an era of dumb sitcoms like Laverne and Shirley and Three's Company
70s,
and Mork
80s,
and Mindy.
there we go, yeah.
Okay, that was what people were watching. They weren't interested in a sci-fi supernatural show about a crusading reporter.
No, we wanted to make fun of someone for 30 minutes and then a misunderstanding, and then it all works out at the end. That's what we like.
But yet, had it come along, I would say in the 90s, it would have gone about 10 years, like X-Files.
Oh, I was going to say, X-Files would definitely have been the reason that would carry on, because look how long X-Files went on.
And, X-Files was an influence on that. The creator has said so many times.
There's so much we don't know about when we look at all these old comic books. And understand it was a different world. They were written so that everybody could love and follow along with them, and they cared about the story. Art was important, but as you look at these old ones, it wasn't the greatest, but it was good enough, and that's what people wanted. Just good enough to keep you interested so you could follow the story.
Here was my other passion beyond Disney, and that was DC and mostly Batman. These two, which were 179 and 180, what was the watershed year for Batman? Tell me.
I don't know what year in the 60s.
1966. The greatest year for pop culture. Just about everything I like came out of that basic time period. 1966, of course, was the year of the Batman TV show.
That's right, Adam West.
Premiered in January of 66. Took the country by storm. And up till that point, I had primarily just read Gold Keys. But I like the show so much, and at my corner candy store, what do I see? I see Batman 179 with the Riddler prominently figured. Say what you will about the Joker or anybody else, the Riddler was the best villain on the Batman TV show. I saw that, and I said, okay, I'll buy Uncle Scrooge and Batman today. So this was my first Batman comic. Read it, enjoyed it, and, started my alternative line of collecting. Couldn't resist this, especially after seeing Frank Gorshin's performance on the show. Came back next month for this one, which I believe is one of the best Batman comics of the Silver Age. No named villain. It was Deathman, a guy in a skeleton outfit. The funny thing about Deathman is that while he only appeared this once in the United States, he became very, very big in Japan. They did manga, they did animation with him, and he was called Lord Deathman. To bring it full circle, on the Batman Brave and the Bold series, they did a segment of Batman with Lord Deathman, as it would look in Japanese.
Oh, that is absolutely amazing. Although I do have a question, because I haven't seen a lot of the older Batmans. Did they do the thing where they had, was it the Riddler and the Joker from the series that were always making jokes together? I remember that in the series, but did they do that in the comics?
Not really, no. No, in fact, I think the Joker probably teamed up with Luthor in World's Finest, which was the Batman-Superman team-up book, more often than he did with any Batman villain back at that time. What happens a few years back? DC puts out a comic based on the Batman TV show, which they call Batman 66. And here's Deathman from 1966. And the ultimate example of full circle, Here's Batman 66 comic face to face with Lord Deathman.
It comes full circle. The TV show meets the comic at the same time period.
Well, the thing is with comics, going back to the older ones especially, these have gone on for years, like Batman. And you have so many villains that you don't even know about that could actually be good that are one-shot villains. And then they find, well, these are actually really well-written characters. So they had such great comic ideas from the 60s, they brought them back in these old 66 issues. And that's what we have here.
Now, was the 66 series faithful to the show, do you feel? Or was it not really like with the show feel to it?
It did a superb job at it, except for the Joker. It was sort of a kind of halfway 66 Joker and it's sort of a halfway current Joker.
Yeah.
So he was a lot more psychotic than he should have been.
Yeah, see, that one was more of an actual jokester. He would do, like, you know, silly things and, like, jokes and pranks. Yeah, he wasn't a killer, per se, in the TV show. He was more of a doing jokes to make Batman miserable the whole time.
Well, he was the Clown Prince of Crime.
This comic did everything else right. It did my favorite villain created for the TV show, King Tut. Did him perfectly.
Yes, we loved King Tut.
Did him perfectly to a T. Victor Buono. I love Victor Buono.
Now, don't forget, the villain he has amnesia. He's a professor at school or college, and when he gets bonked in the head, he believes he's the reincarnation of King Tut again.
And they did Egghead, which was Vincent Price.
Vincent Price, one of our favorites.
Perfectly.
Yeah, he's good.
And they did everything right except the Joker.
Comics nowadays are a lot more darker. Do you feel the older comics were just as dark, just in a different way? How do you feel about that?
They were as dark as they needed to be. Nothing excessive. I like it better that way. It's like you appreciate it more.
Instead of actually spelling it out.
When everything is not that. Or as I'm so fond of saying now, you know, you have nothing but big events in comics. And when everything is a big event, nothing is a big event. If I read the listings right these days, more than one of them a year, maybe
it's always a major
every couple
event
of
now.
months,
Yes.
you know, becomes meaningless.
We've had the pleasure of talking with Jim Shooter multiple times at some of our conventions.
Yes, we met Jim Shooter a few times.
And he actually talked about that. The idea was one big event a year, no more, no less when he was in charge. Because if you start having more, it's like you said, when everything's a special event, there are no more special
anymore,
events.
right? Yes.
And Jim Shooter, not so coincidentally, was the last time that I enjoyed Marvel.
We feel the same way too. Once
Exactly.
Shooter left, Marvel went downhill. Yes, exactly.
DC held out much longer than that under Paul Levitz and Jeanette Kahn. Eventually, they too were gone, and they went down the same tubes as Marvel.
Unfortunately, yeah. They all copy each other, and they all go down the same rabbit hole, and then now that's it. Yeah, I know.
So
that's why on Retro Reviews, we're proud to show the better times, the fun times that you grew up with, that you enjoyed, and can still relive today. Now, for Batman, do you have all the way up to when you liked it and then you stopped collecting? Then, like you won't buy issues you don't like anymore, just have a complete collection, right?
No, I think I actually hung in there until just before New 52.
By the way, in these comics, back in the days, literally a man dressing up in a skeleton costume was qualified as a supervillain.
Yeah, that was enough, right?
Though in this one, you can see they obviously are coming up with a nice, deep backstory to them.
Yeah, it really looks like Adam West did.
They did a great job on it. Like I said, I nitpick over the Joker, but they did a great job on this. In one issue of Batman 66, in that wall climbing scene, Batman has a robot taking over for him while he's off fishing with Dick Grayson. It was a bat robot. He's doing the climb up the wall. Sorry, who opens the window but Dr. Smith?
I know it. Who else would have been?
So, what do you like the most about the comics?
2 words. The stories.
There you go. Something that's forgotten today, folks. Story does matter. Remember that.
Yeah, I've also said many a times when we talk about some of the things we've watched that people today forget the basics of high school. They don't know how to do a beginning, climax, and catharsis to a story. They had to struggle, the characters had to grow, they had to overcome obstacles, which makes them so much more fun. Especially the old Batman. I love the Adam West Batman.
So who are some of your favorite characters, not now, but in the past, besides Batman? We know you love Batman. Who else would you say was, wow, I couldn't wait to see what's going to happen next with these characters every time?
Donald Duck, Uncle Scrooge.
DuckTales is based on that, everyone, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Superman, obviously.
Oh, yeah, I love the 80s Superman,
Superman,
because I'm a little younger. I love the 80s Superman. That was great stuff.
Well, I liked it when they toned him back, so whenever he didn't sneeze in and blow away
Yeah, he
souls
was
and stuff.
overpowered, and then when they toned him down a little bit, it became a little more fun. Yeah, I don't like power gaming characters.
I liked it when it was sort of a weekly continuity book. It made you show up every week. You couldn't wait until the next chapter.
It was like an episode. Oh, what's
Yeah,
going to happen next?
right.
I can't wait. Yes, exactly. That was the fun of it.
Speaking of my next door neighbor, he actually had the giant size issue, you know, those big giant ones, of Superman versus Muhammad Ali. Did you ever read that?
Yes.
Got one yourself?
He has it. Of course he has it.
That was actually a very amazing comic book.
The cover itself was amazing. Just looking at all the people Neil Adams caricatured to be in the audience.
Well, it made it feel like if he didn't fall down, if Muhammad Ali couldn't beat him, then the world was doomed, and Superman had to fight to his fullest. But back then, Superman was, a good old honest farm boy, so he had to give it his all. So, I mean, it was a wonderful comic. What would you say is your favorite comic of all time?
Oh, that is easy. There was a Donald Duck story in the late 40s called Lost in the Andes. It was, to me, the perfect comic book story. Like the Phantom Blot, it was 32 pages, no ads. It built up an adventure that went to a very strange place and came back again, and many of the pages themselves, the page turners, they ended on little beats of either jokes or tension. It's one of the most famous Disney comic stories of all time. This was by Carl Barks, who was the greatest talent to ever work on the Donald Duck comics, and he was the creator of Scrooge McDuck in a class by himself, as you can see there. This is what's been wrong with the industry probably since some point in the 90s. I would say at least the point at which Image began, or the Image people worked for Marvel, because all they gave you was some cool looking character in a cool looking costume having a cool looking battle. We didn't know or care why they were having that battle. As long as they were having that battle.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I can't say much to that. I love monster movies, so...
Yeah, but monster movies were never noted for depth of story.
Yeah, comic books used
These
to be.
were,
Yeah.
and that was the catalyst for that awful, unfortunate change.
Yeah, and it
That is true.
Never really recovered, unfortunately.
We like to look at what was, so hopefully in the future, maybe another generation or two, will start writing comics that capture the mind, like the old ones did. Any closing thoughts you'd like to give us?
Story matters.
Now, this has been a lot of fun, guys. Hopefully, one day we'll do something like this again for you. Please let us know what you thought of this. This is a great bit of history here. We could have gone on forever. He has a wonderful collection, as you can see from all the pictures. This is history right here. Please let us know what you thought. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas, if you want to hear more, let us know. That's what the comment section's for, and we will definitely relay any messages you guys got.
Absolutely.